Good morning, students. This is Asha, your social science teacher. Children, as you all know, we are discussing from last few days chapter 2 in geography about land, water, soil, and natural vegetation, wildlife resources. So, till now, in this chapter, we have covered land resources, soil resources, and we have discussed different aspects of land resources like land use, degradation of land, soil, degradation and conservation of soil. Now we are discussing the third topic of this chapter, which is water resource. We have started this chapter topic in yesterday's lecture. Today we'll be discussing conservation of water. As you all know, the kind of usage we are doing for water is huge and we are polluting it as well. So there is a great need to conserve water resource. So how can we conserve water resources? So we'll study all the points. First is afforestation. We have been discussing this from a long time. Afforestation means planting more and more trees. So trees prevent wastage of water as they decrease the rate of surface runoff. Surface runoff means movement of water from the surface. So trees stop that and renew the storage of underground water. So afforestation is a great help when we talk about water, conservation of water resources. Second point here, which is of great importance, is building dams on rivers. Multi-purpose projects have been started by building dams on river, which is an effective way of water conservation. These projects have not only controlled floods, but the flow of water in the river has also been regulated. So the wasteful flow of water is checked. By constructing dams, we check the wasteful flow of water as well. Moreover, water is supplied to the areas of scarcity through canals, and hydroelectricity is also produced through these building dams. Next is building artificial lakes and tanks. So this is a very good method which we can use. In South India, there is lack of perennial rivers. Perennial rivers are the rivers which originate and flow throughout the year. So therefore the rainwater is collected in large tanks. So Ganga and Brahmaputra, these are perennial rivers. But in South India, we do not see any perennial rivers. So there is a scarcity of water. So what they do, they collect water in large tanks, artificial lakes, so that water can be conserved to the maximum. Next important factor here is improvement in irrigation techniques. If we do irrigation by traditional way, there is lot of wastage of water. But in place of that, we can use sprinklers and drip irrigation, which are effective irrigation technique which we can use and stop wastage of water. Next is rain water harvesting. It is very effective method to conserve water. In this process, rainwater is collected from rooftop and directed to the appropriate location to store it for the future use. In this, whenever there are rains and water is collected on rooftop, it is drained to a particular storage tank. In this way, we are doing a rainwater harvesting. Next important point here is check on pollution. Sewage and urban and rural settlements should be treated before its disposal into river. So most of the sewage disposal and factory disposal go into rivers and pollute our rivers. So we can treat these wastages and then let them go in rivers. Industrial effluent must also be properly treated before discharging them into rivers, because these effluents contaminate water with metals, chemicals and other things. So it's better we treat them first and then we discharge them in water. And last and the most important, individual efforts. We should also try to check wastage of water at individual level at home, school, office, public place. Wherever we are using water, we should check it by our individual efforts. Tap should not be allowed to run when not in use. Drinking water should not be used for cleaning and gardening, right? Drinking water should be used only for drinking, not for cleaning, gardening, other purposes. Small cistern tanks should be used for flushing toilets. All these are individual effects which we can do and conserve water. So by this we come to an end of water resources, and now we move on to the next important topic, which is natural vegetation and wildlife. It is also a important natural resource. In this chapter we are discussing all the natural resources. So natural vegetation and wildlife exist only in the narrow zone of contact between lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and we call it biosphere. So there is a narrow zone where lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere interact, and a new zone is formed which is known as biosphere. And in this biosphere, natural vegetation grow and wildlife exist. Even we human beings live in this biosphere. In the biosphere, living beings are interrelated and interdependent on each other for survival. So as you must have already studied in grade 7 how interdependence is there in biosphere. The life supporting system is known as ecosystem. Now the next topic is uses of forest. Forests are of great use for human beings. Plants provide us with timber, they give shelter to animals, produce oxygen we breathe, protect soil, so essential for growing crops, act as a shelter belts, help in storage of underground water, and forests give us fruits, nuts, latex, terpene, so many things which forest does for us. So forest has mainly these three functions. The first is productive function. What is productive function? Forests provide number of economically important products such as timber, cane, bamboos, essential oil, resin, etc. Apart from this, a number of forest plants find use in medicines. So all these plants which are used for such purpose are called productive functions. Forests have one more function which is known as protective function. So forests protect us from strong winds, heat and cold. They prevent soil erosion, floods, and thus are helpful in conservation of soil, right? So that particular function of forest is called protective function. And one of the most important function is ecological significance regulating functions. So we call it as a regulating function also. Forest help in balancing level of oxygen and carbon dioxide. You all know we inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide, whereas plants inhale carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. So they maintain an ecological balance in this way. They regulate earth temperature and the water cycle. Forests increase the local precipitation of water. So all these are the uses of forest. Now let's move on to the next topic, which is distribution of natural vegetation. The growth and the distribution of natural vegetation primarily depends on temperature and moisture. So it mainly depends on temperature and moisture. The next important thing is the major vegetation types of the world are grouped as forest, grasslands, scrubs and tundra. So natural vegetation are broadly classified into forest, grassland, shrubs. And you must have studied this flowchart, might remind you of your grade 7 chapter, natural vegetation. So there are three major categories: forest, grasslands and shrubs, in which we classify forest. So forests are further classified into coniferous and broad-leaved, right? So forest of a particular type can be identified on the basis of geographical location, climatic condition and composition of plant species. So first we'll discuss coniferous forest. So these grow in mountainous region where the temperature is low. The size and shape of the trees are adapted to climate of the area. The trees are tall with needle-like leaves and sloping branches, which allow the snow to slip off the branches. So whatever snow is there, it easily slips off. Next is broad-leaved. So these forests can be further classified into evergreen, deciduous, thorn and mangrove forest. So what are evergreen forests? These are found in areas of high rainfall, having long monsoon period. They grow and remain green throughout the year. And next is deciduous forest. These are found in areas of moderate rainfall. Teak trees are predominant in such forests, but other trees and shrub also grow. These trees shed their leaves in winter and summer months. These forests are frequently have thick undergrowth and light penetrates to the ground. The next important forest is thorn, broad-leaved category. Thorny forests. These are found in semi-arid areas where water is scarce, where water is less. The trees are sparsely distributed and are spiny, like in desert vegetation. Some of the trees have small leaves while others have thick leaves with wax coating. Why this wax coating? Which reduces transpiration to reduce the loss of water. Most of the plants have thorns which reduce water loss and provide protection from herbivorous animal. And the last category of this is mangrove. These grow along the sea coast and river deltas. These plants are adapted to grow in saline as well as fresh water. So they can use saline water also and fresh water also. These trees grow in muddy areas covered with silt. These trees have breathing roots that emerge from banks. These trees protect the coast from impact of sea waves, so they are really of great help. Let's move on to grasslands, right? So grasslands are vast areas of lands having grasses and animal plants. Grasslands usually occur in the areas where rainfall is less and soil quality and depth are poor. So you must have studied this in grade 7 also, like prairies and grasslands. On such land, large trees and shrubs cannot grow. Two distinct phases of grassland can be periods of increased growth during monsoon season and dormant phase during summer. So they have increased growth during the summers. Now the last category is shrubs. We had three: forest, grassland and shrub. We had discussed forest, grassland, now the shrubs. Shrubs are found in very hot and very cold areas, both the areas where the rainfall is very less. Shrubs are found in desert and tundra region, which are very hot and very cold. So desert is very hot whereas tundra is very cold. So there are two types of shrubs: desert vegetation and tundra vegetation. So desert vegetation is dry and hot desert receive very less rainfall. Shrubs in desert have deep roots, thick barks, thorny and wax leaf surface to reduce the loss of moisture by transpiration, right? Desert vegetation includes cacti, thorny bushes, date palm. All these are part of desert vegetation. Now let's move on to tundra. Tundra vegetation is mainly found in the northern cold region where the temperature remains very low throughout the year. This region remains covered with snow throughout the year, but during short summer when the snow melts, like lichen, mosses and small grass appear. So in summer when snow melts, you get to see these kinds of trees. It's just a recap of your grade 7. You must have studied this in grade 7. The vegetation in this region is very scanty as the ground remains frozen for most of the period. So that's about the broad classification of natural vegetation, and that's all for today. And in tomorrow's lecture we'll discuss the last topic, and which is wildlife. That's all for today. Thank you.